Yes, what's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It's another starting 11 prediction for tomorrow's game at home against Hibs. It's only a few days after that big win at Pittodrie on Wednesday. I thought it was a brilliant win for us in absolutely dreadful conditions. You could see actually in the full time reaction with me and Martin, absolutely drenched. It was so windy. I'm sure you could see that even if you're watching the game on the telly, that even at times the passes that the players were playing on the ground were being taken by the wind. So horrendous conditions to play football, particularly when Celtic are trying to play in the way that we play. And I think Aberdeen, obviously, a lot of fouls, very physical team with Nielsen and Shinnie in midfield, kicking a lot of the Celtic players at times. And I think that made it difficult for us to really get into any rhythm. But I think in the second half, finding a way to come out on top inside that last 10 minutes with a brilliant goal, a brilliant technical goal, a great ball for Taylor, a brilliant piece of improvisation from Hatate, sealed a massive, massive 3 points. And I think if you look at last season again, we've mentioned this a few times with some of the difficult games we've had this season. If you go back to this time last season, last December, you get the feeling that that's a game we wouldn't have found a way to win. So right now, this Celtic team is passing every single test put in front of it domestically. I think it's a huge, huge victory for us. We don't have another league game after tomorrow for a fortnight until we go to Tannadice. So this is an opportunity tomorrow to get another 3 points on the board and close out a really good run of league victories. When you think that in the last 4 or 5 weeks we've been to Rugby Park, had a really difficult physical game, came out on top. We've been to Tynecastle, which can be really awkward for Celtic, and we came through a wee bit of a spell in the first half where Hearts had chances and won it comfortably in the end. And then we've gone up to Pittodrie and ended Aberdeen's 10-game league winning run in their own stadium. So we're doing brilliantly domestically just now. We've got so many big games coming up. Next week is obviously all about Zagreb in the Champions League, and we will be there, by the way. So make sure you're subscribed and you've got the notifications on to keep up with the Zagreb content. And then, of course, it's a League Cup final on Sunday as well. So much to look forward to for us. But I think the manager has managed the squad well this season so far. We've seen a lot of changes from time to time. It's something he talked about again today in the pre-match press conference. That is when he wasn't talking about pyro in the pre-match press conference, because 15 minutes of a press conference and they spent about 60% of it talking about pyro instead of talking about football. But I think one of the things he said is that right now we're in a good spot with very little injury concerns, and that's because he's been able to rotate the team. He's been able to make so many changes, and I think we might see some changes tomorrow. Again, he said something today where I thought, okay, let's look at the players who have played a lot of 90 minutes recently since that last international break. He said the players who have done 90 minutes back to back, they're able to monitor that and take guys out whenever they think they might be in need of a little rest, so that you don't end up in that sort of zone where you might be in danger of picking up an injury. So maybe we'll see some of the key players coming out tomorrow with a view to Zagreb, with a view to the cup final next weekend, and that's not to take this game lightly. Having said that, Hibs are obviously 11th in the table. They got a long awaited victory at Fir Park, 3-0 last weekend. It was their first victory since the 14th of September. They've obviously had a really difficult start to the season under David Gray. We've played them twice already. If you remember, the 2-0 game at Easter Road in the league was followed up the very next weekend by a 3-1 victory in the League Cup, where Dice Maida played through the middle and got a brace that day. So we know how Hibs play. I think for us, it's all about trying to match that intensity from last weekend. If you think about the changes that were made against Ross County, if the manager's going to make 3, 4, 5 changes again, we want to try and match that intensity for the word go and get a really commanding lead in the game, so that if there is some key players out there that the manager would like to give a rest ahead of Tuesday, he can do that, because that's a short turnaround. Saturday afternoon, Tuesday night away in Croatia, really short turnaround. Even Wednesday up at Pittodrie, back home on Saturday. So really short windows between the games, and he's going to have to manage the squad very well. Now, before we get to the team for tomorrow, I nailed it again during the week. I got 11 out of 11 for the 8th time this season. I'm quite surprised I managed to get it right. I kept Vi in at left back. I got the midfield right. I know from the comments a lot of you thought that Hatate might drop out, that McCowan would definitely start alongside Bernardo. So I got it 11 out of 11, which I was surprised at. Can I do it again tomorrow? I think it's a tall order, but we'll start in goals as we always do, and that's the easy one because Kasper Schmeichel will obviously play there. I thought it was a really awkward night for a goalkeeper the other night. I thought his handling was very good in terms of some of the Aberdeen corners, some of the crosses coming into the box, taking the pressure off his defence. And again, even playing out from the back, I talked about how the wind was interfering with a lot of balls, even on the ground, but he was so clean in his passing. His transition to being Celtic goalkeeper has been seamless. It seems like he's been here for years. He's been absolutely brilliant. Back four, I'm going for 2 changes. Johnston at right back, Trusty at right centre back. I think Scales might come in and replace Carter Vickers, which we'll come back to in a minute. And I expect Greg Taylor to return to the starting lineup after starting the last 2 games on the bench. He made a big difference for us. Greg Taylor on Wednesday at Pittodrie, coming inside the pitch, getting his foot on the ball, playing some passes. He obviously gets the key assist for the goal. Lovely dinked pass. So I expect him to come back into the team. I think Scales, off the strength of his performance against Ross County last weekend, and because Carter Vickers has played 490 minutes in a row now, you think about Carter Vickers and the injury concerns he's had. Those are hopefully behind him now that he's played 4 full matches. But I just think with the intensity of the games coming up, midweek in Zagreb, cup final, Brendan Rodgers might see fit to just keep the big man on the bench tomorrow, and again reward Scales with another start. I thought Trusty the other night a wee bit shaky, but again, horrible conditions for a defender. Balls coming into the box, the swirling wind, the rain, horrible conditions. But managed to get through it and keep another clean sheet. In midfield, I think Callum McGregor might drop out and Luke McCowan will come in. I'm going for Hatate and Bernardo in front of him. I think obviously it'd be a big call to leave Callum McGregor out of the team. It wouldn't surprise me to see him start, but again, just looking through the recent games, he's another one who's played the last 4 full 90 minutes. We know he can do that. He doesn't play international football anymore, so he may well start this game, but I just think McCowan, again, based off the strength of his performance last week from a slightly more advanced position than if he is to replace McGregor tomorrow, gives Callum McGregor a rest, because these 2 games are going to demand a lot mentally and physically next week in terms of Zagreb and the cup final, as I keep saying. So I think it's a good opportunity to give Luke McCowan another start, another chance to impress. And then in front of him, Hatate, I fully expect him to keep his place. He was kept on the other night, which I was surprised at. I thought he might come off before Paulo Bernardo, but he showed the piece of quality that won us the game. It was a brilliant bit of skill to improvise, to control it on the chest like that and then finish it first time on his weaker foot. It was like all in one fluid movement. It was a brilliant piece of skill to get us the victory. I think Bernardo will just keep his place. We could maybe see Engels come back in because Engels is fresh and he spent most of the last 2 games on the bench. I think given his form, there was a lot of people saying maybe it's a good time to just take him out the team, take a bit of the heat, a bit of the pressure off him and let him come back in, recharge. Maybe tomorrow is an opportunity to do that, but I've just gone for Bernardo. The area of the team that I'm not going for any changes in is the front 3. Kuhn on the right hand side, Maeda on the left and Kyogo through the middle. I think you could make a case maybe for resting Maeda, maybe even for resting Kyogo. Again, the kind of game the other night where Kyogo finds it really difficult to influence it. It's not like we can find passes in behind for him. It's a really physical game up in Pittodrie against that Aberdeen team. And I think when Ida came on, you could see that we could get crosses into the box. He was a bigger aerial threat, as you would expect, and he produced a brilliant save actually for us doing as well. So I think Kyogo maybe could come out. You think about again, Tuesday, next Sunday in the cup final, games where we're going to have to play at really high intensity. But I think the manager will want to keep that intensity from the word go tomorrow and get the game won, and then hopefully if we're in a commanding position, he can then take some of these guys off in the second half. I think Maeda maybe hasn't looked quite at his most effective self in the last 2 games, I would say. Even going back to Bruges where he scored that brilliant goal, there was times where he thought he just looked maybe a wee bit off it, maybe even since the last international break. Actually, he's looked a wee bit more jaded than usual. Is it an opportunity to take him out and maybe start someone like James Forrest? I don't see Palmer or Yang getting a start, but I think again with Forrest you do get a difference in how you press the game, and I think Brendan Rodgers will want to start the game, as I say, fast tomorrow, and keep up this intensity and get another good victory. And then, as I say, in the second half, look at bringing some of these guys off ahead of Zagreb on Tuesday. So there you go. That is the team I think the manager will play tomorrow. I managed to get it right on Wednesday. Will I get it right for tomorrow? You can let me know if you disagree in the comments below, and we'll see you tomorrow after the game with full-time reaction outside Celtic Park and the post-match pint once again from Malone's, wherever you're watching the game tomorrow. Enjoy it. We'll see you then. Cheers.